You think intelligence is power, but in a world full of fools, it becomes a liability. You see the mistake instantly, the broken logic, the missing pieces. Your mind starts building the correction. Evidence, facts, reason. You open your mouth to explain, and that is the moment you lose. You know this feeling. Someone speaks with absolute confidence about something they completely misunderstand. Your brain lights up instantly. You see 10 flaws, maybe 20. You prepare your argument. You present it calmly, clearly, logically, and then they double down. Louder, more certain, more wrong. Why does this happen? Why do you lose? Even when you are right, because you made one fatal mistake. You assumed they want the truth. They don't. Most people never argue to discover reality. They argue to protect their ego. You bring logic. They bring emotion. You speak mathematics. They speak instinct. The human mind has two masters. One slow, one fast. The slow mind searches for truth. The fast mind protects identity. And the fast mind always reacts first. When you challenge a fool, you are not challenging their idea. You are threatening their identity. And identity will burn the world. Before admitting it was wrong, so you argue. You explain again. You simplify. You draw diagrams. You try analogies. You spend energy. They spend nothing. They simply refuse. And suddenly you realize something terrifying. They are not exhausting you with intelligence. They are exhausting you with resistance. Arthur Schopenhauer saw this centuries ago. Truth has no currency. In a debate with a fool, logic is not a weapon here. It is bait. The more logic you bring, the deeper you step into their trap. Because the fool does not want clarity. The fool wants friction. Most arguments look like conversations, but they are not. They are arenas, invisible arenas, where people fight. Not for truth, but for dominance. Winning the argument means nothing. Winning the emotional territory means everything. Inside every mind, two systems fight for control. One is slow, careful, analytical. The other is fast, emotional, defensive. The intelligent mind tries to activate the slow system. But the fool never leaves the fast one. You present data. They present anger. You offer nuance. They offer certainty. You search for accuracy. They search for victory. And this is where the game becomes unfair. Because emotion always arrives faster than logic. While you think, while you calculate, while you explain, they do nothing. They simply resist. And resistance is cheap. It costs them nothing. But it costs you everything. Your time, your focus, your peace. This is the intelligence trap. You believe better logic will win, better explanations, better arguments. But every step deeper into the argument pulls you further into their terrain, and on their terrain, chaos always wins. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You stop trying to convince. You stop trying to educate. You stop trying to win. Because the real power is choosing not to fight. If this idea already makes sense to you, leave a single word below. Just one word. Awake. Not for me. For yourself. The fool wants one thing. Friction. Conflict feeds them. Your frustration fuels them. Every time you argue, you validate them. Every reply says something dangerous. My mind is worth fighting. My anger is worth your time. To a foolish mind that feels like victory. This is the first real strategy. Stop fighting. Not because they are right, because the battlefield is wrong. The fool lives inside chaos, inside noise, inside emotional storms. The moment you step into that storm, you lose your advantage. The intelligent mind makes a mistake. It assumes people want truth. They don't. Most people want validation. They want certainty. They want to feel correct. Truth is slow. Ego is fast. And ego always reaches the microphone first. You bring evidence. You bring analysis. You bring structure. But the fool brings something stronger. Certainty. And certainty does not need proof. It only needs confidence. This is why ignorance often sounds louder than wisdom. You think explaining will fix them. You think patience will educate them. You think logic will save them. But some minds do not seek correction. They seek defense. Their beliefs are not ideas. They are armor. And when you attack armor, you only make it stronger. Schopenhauer understood something ruthless. You do not defeat a fool with logic. You defeat a fool with their own momentum. Do not oppose their argument. Accelerate it. Push it forward. Further. Further. Until the absurdity reveals itself. There is a darker strategy. A cruel one, but incredibly effective. Do not fight their idea. Agree with it. Completely. Violently. Push their logic forward. Until it collapses under its own weight. Imagine someone says, modern art is a scam. Anyone could paint that. Your instinct is to argue, to explain technique, history, expression. Stop. Do something unexpected. Lean forward. Nod slowly. And say this. You're absolutely right. In fact, if it's that easy, we should quit our jobs today. You paint. I'll find a gallery. We'll be rich by Friday. Watch carefully. You didn't attack them. You validated them. Completely. But you forced their idea to travel further than their mind ever planned. And suddenly, they hesitate. The fool operates on the surface. One step thinking, maybe two, but when their belief is pushed 3 steps forward, 4 steps, 5 steps, the absurdity becomes impossible to ignore. This is the silent victory. You didn't defeat them. Their own logic did. You didn't spend energy. You didn't raise your voice. You simply gave them enough rope to trip over their own mind. There is another technique, less aggressive, but far more efficient. You create distance, not physical distance, psychological distance. You stop bringing your real mind into conversations that do not deserve it. When you must interact with fools, you bring an avatar. The avatar is polite. The avatar smiles. The avatar nods slowly. Interesting perspective. I see what you mean. That's one way to look at it. And that is all they get. Your real mind stays protected behind a wall of detachment, because the goal is no longer to convince them. The goal is to preserve yourself. Energy is currency. Attention is currency, and fools spend it carelessly. Let them believe they won. Give them that illusion. It costs you nothing, and it satisfies their ego. The illusion of victory is the cheapest toy you can give a fool to keep them quiet. Schopenhauer called this the porcupine dilemma. On a freezing night, porcupines must move closer to share warmth. But when they get too close, their quills wound each other. Human relationships follow the same rule. Distance is sometimes the only peace. The intelligent mind learns something painful. You cannot avoid fools. They are everywhere. Managers, clients, neighbors, sometimes family. But you can control how close they get to your mind. There is something darker about foolishness. It spreads, not like a disease of the body, but a parasite of attention. Every interaction with irrationality demands energy. You calculate their reactions. You predict their confusion. You translate reality into smaller and smaller pieces. And slowly, your own mind becomes tired. Your brain has limits, cognitive limits, attention limits, patience limits. Every hour spent arguing with a fool steals something from you. Focus, creativity, clarity. Your mind was built to build things, not to babysit chaos. This is the hidden danger. The longer you stay in their maze, the more your mind adapts to their logic. Their chaos becomes normal. Their noise becomes familiar. And slowly, your thinking begins to shrink. You stop building ideas. You start defending them. Schopenhauer understood something brutal. Mental diet matters. What you consume shapes what you become. Spend your days in shallow arguments, and your mind becomes shallow. Spend your time with chaos, and your thinking becomes chaotic. Fools do not produce. They consume. They consume time. They consume patience. They consume emotional stability. And the worst trade you can make is this: your gold for their dirt. Most people will never see this. They will continue arguing endlessly, defending illusions, protecting fragile egos. But if this perspective shifted something inside your mind, let this idea travel. Pass it forward. Let others see what most people never notice. The game changes when the fool has power. A foolish stranger is harmless, but a foolish leader is dangerous. Because power does not make them wiser. It makes them defensive. The crown amplifies insecurity. A powerful fool lives on a psychological fault line. Deep down, they know something. They know their intelligence is fragile. They sense there are minds in the room far sharper than theirs. And that terrifies them. When you display intelligence in front of mediocrity, you are doing something dangerous. You are holding up a mirror, and that mirror shows their inadequacy. A foolish ruler will not break themselves. They break the mirror. They rarely attack your intelligence directly. That would expose the truth. Instead, they attack your character. You are difficult. You are arrogant. You are not a team player. They weaponize the system, and slowly, they bleed your energy. The most dangerous creature is not the predator. It is the frightened animal wearing a crown. Fear drives them. Insecurity drives them. And insecurity is incredibly sensitive to intelligence. This is where most intelligent people fail. They show their brilliance. They correct the leader. They expose the flaws. And they believe truth will protect them. But intelligence is not a medal. It is a concealed weapon. And concealed weapons stay hidden. There is an ancient strategy few intelligent people accept. Sometimes, you must appear weaker than you are. Not because you are weak, because intelligence that threatens power gets destroyed. History hides a lesson. The sharpest minds often survive by pretending to be dull. The predator does not always show its teeth. Sometimes it lowers its head and walks with the herd. There was a man named Sima Yi, a strategist serving under a foolish ruler. The ruler feared him, feared his mind. So Sima Yi did something humiliating. He pretended to be weak, old, harmless. When spies came to observe him, he dropped his soup. He trembled. He confused names. He acted like a dying man. The report returned to the ruler. He's finished. He is no threat. Months later, everything changed. The ruler felt safe. His guard dropped. And the moment arrived. Sima Yi rose, not as a sick man, but as the architect of an empire. This is the lesson. Your intelligence is not a badge. It is a concealed weapon. You do not display it for applause. You hide it. You protect it. And when the moment comes, you draw it. There is a mistake intelligent people make. A subtle one, but devastating. You believe if you explain clearly enough, they will understand. If you simplify more, they will see. But sometimes, the problem is not the explanation. It is the hardware. The intelligent mind thinks in probabilities, evidence, possibilities, nuance. But the foolish mind works differently. It forms a conclusion first, usually from emotion. Then it builds walls against every fact that contradicts it. You present data. They reject it. You present evidence. They ignore it. You present logic. They reinterpret it. Because their belief is not a theory. It is a fortress. And every argument you launch only strengthens their defenses. Psychology calls this the Dunning-Kruger effect. The cruel joke of human intelligence. The skills required to be competent are the same skills required to recognize competence, which means something terrifying. The incompetent cannot see their own incompetence. They live inside a fortress of confidence, a fortress built on ignorance, and it feels safe in there. Warm, comfortable, protected from reality. When you try to drag them into truth, they see you as the invader. This is where many intelligent people fail. They feel responsible to save the ignorant, to enlighten them, to fix their thinking. But that belief is arrogance disguised as empathy. You cannot save someone who does not want to leave their fortress. There is one final trap, a dangerous one, and it hides behind compassion. You feel sorry for them. You believe if they just understood, their life would improve. If they could only see the flaw in their thinking, you could save them. But here is the brutal truth. You cannot save someone who is comfortable inside their illusion. The fortress protects them. It keeps reality out. It protects them from doubt, from complexity, from the terrifying possibility that they were wrong. Inside that fortress, everything feels simple. Everything feels certain. The world is clear. They are right. Everyone else is wrong. Why would they leave? Why would they step into the cold air of truth just because you asked them to? Every time you attack their belief, you strengthen it. Every argument makes the walls thicker. Every explanation builds another defense. You are not freeing them. You are reinforcing their prison. This realization hurts, because sometimes the fool is someone you know, a friend, a colleague, a relative. But Schopenhauer believed something most people refuse to accept. Character rarely changes. People do not change their nature. They change their circumstances. So stop trying to upgrade them. Start managing them, like heavy machinery. Keep your hands away from the gears. And stand behind the safety line. Most people think fools are harmless. They are not, because fools are predictable. And predictable minds are easy to control. A foolish person rarely thinks for themselves. They react. They repeat. They follow the loudest voice in the room. History shows this again and again. The foolish mind does not need truth. It needs a signal, confidence, emotion, certainty. Give them those three things, and they will follow almost anything. Ideas spread like fire, especially simple ideas. Black or white, right or wrong, us versus them. Complex thinking moves slowly, but emotional certainty spreads instantly. This is why dangerous leaders do not look for intelligent followers. They look for emotional ones. People who react quickly. People who think in tribes. People who prefer certainty over truth. A foolish crowd is the most powerful weapon ever created. Point it in the right direction, and it can destroy anything. Institutions, reputations, civilizations. All it needs is a simple story and a confident voice. This is why intelligence must learn a final discipline. Do not become part of the crowd. Do not let noise rewrite your thinking. Because the moment you start thinking like everyone else, your mind is no longer yours. There is a painful truth about intelligence. In many situations, being right does not win. Being loud does. Confidence travels faster than accuracy. Emotion spreads faster than evidence. And crowds rarely measure truth. They measure certainty. Watch any debate. The calm thinker explains, analyzes, clarifies. The fool interrupts, raises their voice, repeats slogans, and strangely, the crowd often cheers for the second one. This is where intelligence evolves. You stop competing on the wrong battlefield. You stop trying to defeat noise with explanations. You stop entering the circus of endless arguments, because the circus needs performers. It needs conflict. It needs drama. The moment you refuse to perform, the entire spectacle loses one more actor. And slowly, you reclaim your mind. The intelligent mind must protect its environment. Choose your conversations. Choose your information. Choose your battles. Because every mind is shaped by what surrounds it. Noise will always exist. Fools will always exist. Crowds will always exist. But intelligence has one advantage they will never understand: the power to walk away from the noise. There is a final realization most intelligent people reach. Eventually, after enough arguments, enough frustration, enough wasted energy, the real enemy was never the fool. It was your own reaction to the fool. Foolish behavior is a hook, a psychological hook. It provokes. It irritates. It invites reaction. The moment you react emotionally, you are caught, pulled into their game. But something strange happens when you stop reacting. The hook has nothing to grab. The conflict has nowhere to grow. And suddenly, their performance loses its audience. Control does not come from winning arguments. Control comes from emotional discipline, from silence, from restraint, from the ability to observe stupidity without participating in it. When you master this, something changes. You stop seeing fools as enemies. You see them as weather, noise in the environment, something to navigate, not something to fight. And this is freedom. The freedom of a quiet mind. A mind that no longer reacts to every storm, because storms will always exist. But intelligence learns something deeper. It learns how to walk through the storm. At the end, there is a choice. A quiet one, invisible, but powerful You can continue fighting every fool you encounter, arguing, explaining, defending reality. Or you can choose a different path, a path of selective attention. You choose where your mind goes. You choose which voices matter. You choose which conversations deserve your energy, and which ones deserve silence. Intelligence is not about winning every argument. It is about recognizing which battles are not worth fighting, because the mind is not a weapon to swing wildly. It is a blade that must stay sharp. When you stop reacting to foolishness, something remarkable happens. Your mind becomes quiet, clear, focused. You stop wasting attention on noise, and suddenly your thoughts have space to grow. Schopenhauer understood a final secret. The intelligent mind does not try to fix the world. It learns how to move through it without losing itself. That is the real victory. And if this journey changed the way you see people and power, stay close. There are more lessons about the mind, about control, about the quiet strategies most people never learn. Walk this path with me, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next lesson.